Hello, welcome to Running Science. It's finally time to discuss the Megablast. Before we start, big shout out to the fellow runners who are running the Berlin Marathon. I ran it last year. It's a beautiful race. It's happening this Sunday, so good luck to all of you. Now we can get going with the Megablast. So the shoe tubers are all over this shoes. These shoes came out less than a month ago. It is a new version, or actually it's a new shoe in addition to the ASICS Superblast 2, which was one of my favorite shoes last year. However, as usual, I don't particularly like high cushion shoes. So let's see how this compares to the Superblast. And as usual, I'll try to give you my honest, unbiased opinion on what this shoe is. I've ran almost 50 miles, more than 50 miles in these shoes by now. So I have a good initial impression. Then I'm gonna tell you my opinion, okay? So first the unbiased thing, and then the completely biased opinion on the Megablast. So let's start with a little bit of discussion. As you know, I'm not gonna give you all the statistics. You can go ahead and read them many places, so I'm not here for this. What I'm here to tell you is that this shoe is a max cushion shoe that is very similar to the Superblast 2. In fact, I've listened to a interview with the ASICS director of new products on Doctors of Running podcasts. They say that this was intended to be the Superblast 3. They sent it out to runners to test and say, oh no, it's so different that you should come out with a totally new name, new shoe. I don't buy it. I totally don't buy it. This to me feels like a slightly better version of a Superblast 2 and is very overlapping with the Superblast 2. Now, as I said a few minutes ago, the shoe tubers are all over this shoe. Everybody says that it's the best shoe ever, shoe of the year, blah blah. Do I agree with that? I'll tell you at the end. Before we even start, again, this shoe is expensive. It's $225. It's an addition to the Superblast 2 at $200. Then they have a new plated shoe that we are going to discuss in a little bit called the Sonic Blast. And then they have the Nova Blast. That's their blast family, how they call it, okay? In terms of specifics, max cushion, I think it's 45, 37, 38. Again, I'm not super nitpicky in the details of what these things are. It's really light. Everybody was trying to make a Superblast 2 killer, meaning competitors. And I think the real Superblast killer is this one here. ASICS just killed their Superblast line, which is incredible because nobody was coming even close to Superblast level of cushion weight ratio. It was amazing. And this one is lighter than Superblast 2 and has the same exact cushion, if not even a little bit more. So good job from ASICS in doing that. Now, the other thing that I will tell you is this. I'm not sure I completely understand this shoe. Why is that? Well, at the bottom you have what they call flight foam or FF Turbo Squared foam. Okay, names. Okay, I don't care about names. This is just ATPU. It's an ATPU midsole, which is fantastic, as every other ATPU foam out there. I'm thinking Puma. But at the top, this is a very racy upper. In fact, it's almost translucent in many places, like here at the forefront. It's very thin, very thin. It has these lock laces that are really nice, but I'm not sure I completely understand the matching of the two sides. So the bottom tells me all about long distance, comfort, max cushions, you know, everything that you want for going the long distances. And at the top, you have a top that really reminds me of the Metaspeed. This is a racing upper. This is by far the most racing upper that I've seen in a long distance running shoe. So do they go together? I'm not sure. Now, obviously, they've done this upper to improve weight, which is, again, if you take this up, the weight is fantastic. It's lighter than Superblast 2. I don't know how they did it, or actually I might have an idea of how they did it, because they cut a lot of weight in the upper. I'll tell you at the end if I do like it or not, okay? I'm gonna keep my opinion straight up for the end. But here's the reality. This is a racing upper. In fact, it's even tapered more than Superblast 2. If you look at the taper here, it tapers more extremely. It's much more thin. The tongue is less padded, and actually it's not padded at all. And there's a little bit of a bite from these laces. However, the lockdown is pretty good, so you don't have to crank the laces too much. In fact, the lack of padding is my biggest gripe with this upper. With that said, because it lacks any padding, the laces are doing a good job of keeping it in. You don't have to crank them down too much, but they are comically long. They are incredibly long and ridiculously long. I don't know why they put these long laces. I guess they're standard size, but the lack of padding on the tongue makes them look really ridiculously long. And I checked other videos and I pretty much noticed, you can go ahead and see other YouTubers, you'll see these laces are flopping all over from every other YouTuber out there. So they're ridiculously long. Not a big deal, but they're ridiculously long. All right, so what do I think about this shoe? This shoe is very good, especially in terms of performance in the midsole. Why am I saying that? Because this is a max cushion shoe, but it really has a very broad range of applications. These shoes can go from recovery run at your slower pace all the way up to your even 5K and below pace. Okay, so this is really responsive. It's very bouncy. It's a little more soft than the Superblast 2, but it's much more bouncy. So this shoe is really a jack of all trade. Everybody's saying that. I confirm it. This shoe is a jack of all trade. It goes from recovery all the way up to 5K and tempo intervals very nicely. However, here's my issues with this shoe. I don't know if I completely understand this shoe from two perspectives. One, I already told you. You have a racing upper right here and a comfort-oriented midsole down here. I am not sure I completely understand. I would have liked a little more padding in some areas, especially the tongue. I would have liked maybe a little more padding here in the heel, just a little bit more. And especially I would have liked a slightly wider toe box, not this tapered and aggressive toe box. I have narrow feet, so it's not a problem for me, but I'm sure for many people this will be a problem. Also, the upper doesn't give a bit because it's very rigid. So Superblast 2 is a little less tapered and it's much less rigid, so it gives up much more, so it's more accommodating. This one is not. It's really a racing upper. However, the bottom is really a max cushion shoe. Very versatile, but really a max cushion shoe. So what do I think this shoe is? This shoe is a shoe for the heavier runners that like bigger shoes, and it's for those runners to race marathon. I think that's exactly the sweet spot of this shoe. If you are on the heavier side, you like big, tall shoes, and you don't mind having one shoe to do everything, and you want to race a marathon, just go with this. Okay, this is a one shoe that can do it all, from your tempo sessions to your intervals to your race day. Okay, this is really good from their perspective. What it's not good at is to really replace the rotation, because yes, it does everything, but it costs as much as a rotation. And in my opinion, if you build a rotation of at least two shoes, you're having a much bigger benefit at similar price. All right, so you could buy, for example, some very long distance shoes, some very comfort shoes, and a tempo run shoes, right? Or you can buy a plated tempo shoe and a max cushion shoe on the side. Those are options that will give you that rotation that will help you also with training all the muscles in your legs. And in terms of price, it's not that much different, because here's the other issue, big issue that I have with this shoe. It's $225. Now, the first review came out, everybody was saying that it's amazing, it's fantastic, it's the next best thing after Superblast 2. But then the real review just came out, or are coming out, including mine, right here. And pretty much everybody agrees that this shoe should not cost $225. That is a huge, huge red flag for ASICS. That is a huge mistake, in my opinion, from ASICS. This shoe is very good. It is the best max cushion shoe that you probably have on the market right now. It is just not worth $225, according to me. This is my personal, completely biased opinion. Again, nobody is paying for this shoe, I am. And it's not just my opinion. I've seen Sagasu Running out there saying exactly the same thing. I've seen run testers saying exactly the same thing. So even shoe tubers are starting to agree. And I've seen a lot of reviews on Reddit claiming exactly the same thing. This shoe should have been the Superblast 3. It should have cost $200, and they would have sold it like candies. Really, this shoe would have been fantastically sold at $200 as a Superblast 3, as it was intended. The fact that they've added to Superblast, the fact that they made it $25 more expensive, it's just ridiculous. It does not make any sense. Sorry, ASICS, you're doing good job in terms of producing great shoes, but your marketing and your pricing does not make any sense whatsoever. Now let's talk alternatives, as I usually do. Biggest alternative for this is Superblast 2. This is the Superblast 2 killer. Would I spend $25 more to get these over Superblast 2? Yes, I would. I would, because it's much better than Superblast 2. I don't think that ASICS should sell both shoes at the same time. I don't think this should cost $225, but since they are, and if you are in the market of a new long distance marathon shoe and you are maybe on the slower, heavier side, that's totally fine. Get this one. Don't get Superblast 2. There's only one slight little downside to these, that since they are a little softer than Superblast 2, they might be slightly less stable. However, they're very wide, they're very accommodating, they have a broad base down here. I don't think that's gonna be a major issue. If you have stability issues, you shouldn't get this big, tall stack height. Anyways, so I don't think that is a major issue, but I find Superblast 2 a little more stable. However, under any other circumstance, this one is a better shoe. It is more versatile, surprisingly, because SP2 was very versatile, but this is even more. It is lighter. It is more cushioned, or it feels more cushioned for some reason, probably because the midsole is more soft. Not by much. It's not a soft shoe. Okay, it's not a soft shoe by all means. It's just more soft than Superblast 2, and it is more bouncy than Superblast 2 in a good way, in a very, very, very good way. So the alternative here is Superblast 2. I'm not sure I would get Superblast 2 anymore. This is Superblast 3, as it should have been. Should cost $200, and ASICS would have sold 1 million of those. They probably will sell still 1 million of those, but the price is wrong. Also, other alternatives, but they're not really competing. Vomero 18 plus, or sorry, Vomero plus, it's not 18 plus. Vomero plus, Vomero 18 is also a competitor. But really, those are way, way heavier. I think in standard size, this is 220 grams, and the other one is 270, the plus, and almost 300 for the 18, Vomero 18. So really, this is substantial weight reduction, substantially lighter in weight. and it's much better from that front. Vomero is really just the recovery, long distance recovery run with a little bit of performance. This is even a racer. You can race a marathon in this. I'm not saying finish, I'm saying racing a marathon in these, as long as you are not sub 3 hours. If you are in the 3:30 to any time, really, 3:30 up to 5:30, 6 hours, I don't care, you can race a marathon in this. Okay, even at 3:30, you can race a marathon in these. Probably you can even push it in the 3 hour to 3:30 range. It's that good. Okay, it should not cost $225, but it's that good. Other alternatives, not much. Puma Mag Max is good. It's $180, so same as Vomero Plus. Those are $180. This is $225. That's telling you how off market this price is, really. They're not as good. Honestly. They're much heavier. They're less versatile. So if you have the money, shield for this. If you don't, just get one of those. Recently I've seen Magmax in super discount, so you can get a Magmax on super discount and then associate that maybe around $100, and then associate that with a tempo trainer, a Speed 5 or a DV8 Nitro 3, and have a killer rotation at the same cost as this. Would I go for this? No. So really the alternative here is not Magmax, it's not Brooks Glycerin Max. Those are too heavy to compare with these. The alternative here is 2 shoes. Get 2 shoes, especially if you get them on sale. I've seen Magmax really on sale at Puma outlets at half price, so $90. Right? You can get $90 of Magmax, which is fantastic for marathon pace and slower. And then you can pair it with a plated tempo trainer. You can go either Nike Zoom Fly 6 or Endorphin Speed 5. Go see my review. I don't particularly love them, but they're not a bad shoe for tempo. And you could even pair it with the Sonic Blast, which we're going to discuss shortly. You could pair it with the Hoka Mac X2 or X3 that just came out. And you would spend the same amount of money, or very close, very similar amount of money, and get 2 shoes with all the benefit of a rotation, with all the benefit of resting the phone, with all the benefit of training your lower legs, and really be better, honestly. You could even pair the Magmax or a long distance running shoe with a racing shoe, right? You could get an Adios Pro 4. Those were also recently on sale at around $150 last couple of weekends. So if you think at $90 for the Magmax and $150 for the Adios Pro 4, that is an amazing rotation, killer rotation, even for the heavier and slower runner. As long as you don't have stability issues, those 2 shoes will serve you much better than this. And again, if you keep an eye out for sales, you will pay exactly the same. That's no brainer to me. However, this shoe is really good. Okay, so I do agree with the initial reviews. These shoe, as a shoe for what it is, which is a long distance, jack of all trade, all rounder, max cushion shoe. It's essentially a marathon shoe. This is really good. Not at $225. All right, sorry ASICS, I had to be honest here. Unbiased review, it works really well. Biased opinion, it's too expensive. All right, see you at the next video.